Hello, my dear friends. You're on the Military Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 10th of August. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first, we're going to start with the report of Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. They gave us new numbers, and according to their information they provided us, during the previous 24 hours, they dealt a lot of damage to the Ukrainian forces. First, let's talk about this 93rd Mechanized Brigade. If we take a look at the map of this position, this brigade is located near Izum bridgehead, but I must say that this brigade is stretched on this front line between Balakleya, that located on the north, this one, and Izum bridgehead. And maybe some forces are located in Kharkiv area. The Russians are saying that they attacked the headquarters of these forces near a town by the name of Andreevka, this one, that located on the south of Chuguyev and Kharkiv, and that located on the west from Balakleya, from this area. And as a result of that attack, the Ukrainians lost around 100 soldiers and around 20 armored vehicles. As you can see, this town of Andreevka is located near the front line where the Russians started their offensive operation towards Gusarovka. And today we got another important update from the Russian sources, these are Gusarovka, and from the Ukrainian sources as well, that the Russians continue their offensive operation towards Gusarovka. A few days ago there was some kind of recall in combat, and this attack was defeated by the Ukrainians. As far as I understand, the Russians did some regrouping, and these days, today, they continue. They did another attempt, and for now there is clashes between these two towns, between these two areas, and for now there are no more updates about the progress. Another important updates are coming from Donetsk. These are Donetsk. As you remember, this area is under protection, is under defend of 54th Mechanized Brigade mainly, and 56th Mechanized Brigade. And we can say that 21st Motorized Brigade was moved here during the previous weeks because of heavy losses among 56th and 54th Mechanized Brigades. And the Russians are saying that they attack these 54th Mechanized Brigade. To be more precise, they attack the warehouses that are located in Krasnogorovka, this one, this town. This town, Krasnogorovka, is located on the west from Donetsk. We can say that it's some kind of suburbs. Maybe this map will give you some better information. This one, as you can see, the Russians are very close. So the Russians attacked the warehouse of this brigade in this area, and as a result of that attack, the Ukrainians lost around 30 soldiers, not much, and around 70 armored vehicles. As you know, the Russians are trying to crack Krasnogorovka. They managed to establish control over the fields on the south. They cut the road between Marinka and Krasnogorovka, so that means that they cut supply line and exchange line between these two towns, and of course it makes the offensive operation in Krasnogorovka much easier. Another important update are coming from this, our famous 56th Mechanized Brigade. This tragic brigade, the destiny of this brigade is very terrible. This brigade was involved in defense operation of town by the name of Pesky. This is our famous town. As you know, the Russians are cracking this nut these days, and they managed to establish control over almost the entire town. Some sources are saying that the Russians cleared this town completely. Some sources are saying that Ukrainians still have position in the north part of this town. But anyway, the Russians are saying that during this week, the previous week, of storm operation, of rocket attacks, of everything that happened with this brigade, this 156th Mechanized Brigade, this brigade lost more than 70% of its infantry, of its soldiers, officers, and so on. It's brigade, and the losses of this brigade is more than 70%. The Russians told that this brigade, this famous phrase, lost its combat capability. I know that this is some kind of mechanized brigade, and if we're talking about the brigade, there are around 5 battalions, like artillery battalion, maybe artillery regiment, or 3 mechanized battalions, maybe 1 tank. and there are around 5,000 soldiers in this brigade, if we are talking about 100% ready of this battalion, of this brigade. So if the Russians are saying that the losses of this brigade is more than 70%, so that means that this brigade lost during the previous weeks of storm operation near Peski more than 3,500 soldiers, just because of rocket attack. This number, according to the Russian sources, doesn't include the numbers on the ground battle. So I suppose that there is no more 56th Mechanized Brigade. And if we take a look at the result, at the progress, we see that the Russians cracked this net near Peski. And yesterday we got report that the Russians entered Pervomayska, not the central part, but the edge of this town, southeast part. This one, there are not much buildings, and mainly there are just small towns, small houses, private houses, this sector. But anyway, the Russians entered this town, and now they're able to move further block by block. So I suppose, as the Russians told us, that it would take up to 4 weeks to crack this net and to complete the encirclement operation of Avdiivka. If we're talking about the north front line from Avdiivka, this one, there is no changes. So the Russians slow down. There was some report that the Russians entered Krasnogorovka, but there are 2 Krasnogorovka. The one is on the south that we're talking about, and the one on the north of Avdiivka. So maybe it was some kind of disinformation or some kind of mistake, because I suppose that the Russians haven't entered the Krasnogorovka that located on the north of Avdiivka. Now let's talk about one of the most important updates in this military special operation at this phase of the conflict. Now let's talk about the battle on the Zelensky defense line between Seversk, Bakhmut, and Gorlovka. Gorlovka is under Russian control, and let's say in Zaitsevo. This line, the river Bakhmut, this is Zelensky defense line. And today we got update. And by the way, if you take a look at this map, you're gonna see that the West Sources map has been updated. Now they are showing that Gladasovo and Travnevo, these 2 towns in the south, is under Russian control. I told the first update about establishing control over this town. I gave you something around a week ago, and today we see this update. But the thing is that since the establishing control over this town and update of this map should be updated one more time, because today we got report from the Russian sources, from many Russian sources, that the Russians continue their offensive operation in the south, and now they're trying to crack Zaitsevo, that located in the north of Gorlovka, from 2 sides. The Russians entered this Zaitsevo. They managed to pass the first line of defense, or the first line of fortification. So we can say that they managed to crack the most powerful fortification line in this area. So as you can see, the south from Bakhmut is collapsing, and everything is according to the projections that we discussed many times during the previous videos. So now let's one more time discuss the thing that happened near Zaitsevo. So if we, just for better understanding and according to the Russian sources, you need to understand that now, if we're talking about the south, this area that I'm trying to encircle with the blue cloud is in the gray zone. So this area is in the gray zone, and the Russians are attacking this area from few sides. Dacha, by the way, there was a report that Dacha has fallen as well a few days ago. And if you take a look, this is a very important area, and if this area falls, the Russians will be able to develop their offensive operation towards a town by the name of Kurdyumovka. We discussed these towns as well many times. Yes, of course, they are able to continue their offensive operation from Zaitsevo to the north in direction of Bakhmut, but this direction is not the most important. The most important town, the most important point, fortified point, is this Kurdyumovka. Why is that? If the Russians are able to establish control over this Kurdyumovka, even without entering Bakhmut from the south, just going a little bit to the north, after that, from this Kurdyumovka, from this bridgehead, they will be able to establish fire control over 4 towns, four important towns in this area. And this is Toretsk, if we try to calculate the distance to Toretsk is the New York agglomeration. It's less than, I'm talking about the middle of Toretsk, it's around 10 kilometers. So any artillery can reach this town, and any artillery can do anything with this area. Another distance to Konstantinovka, it's around 16 kilometers. So as well, any kind of Russian artillery are able to reach Konstantinovka in a regular mode and to cut this road that supplies from Konstantinovka Chasov Yar and from Konstantinovka Toretsk or New York agglomeration. Another important town is Chasov Yar, the same 15 kilometers. As you know, Chasov Yar is a very important town because there are a lot of headquarters, a lot of places where the Ukrainians are keeping their forces in reserves, giving them possibilities to rest and so on. And another town is, of course, Bakhmut. So as you can see, 12, 15, 16 and less than 9 kilometers. This is the area that the Russians will be able to control from one town. And as you understand, the Ukrainians will have to keep some forces in Konstantinovka from now on, because they need to be on the safe side if the Russians will decide to attack Konstantinovka. Now they will need to keep some forces in Chasov Yar, because the Russians also are able to develop their offensive operation towards Chasov Yar just for one purpose, to encircle Bakhmut. We know that there are forces in Bakhmut, so no questions. And of course, the Ukrainians now need to keep some forces on the north of New York Toretsk agglomeration from this town. Then the Russians, if they are able to establish control, of course, over Kurdyumovka, and I suppose that they're going to do this after taking Zaitsevo, north of Zaitsevo, there is a very high risk of the fact that the Russians will try to develop their offensive operation towards the west a little bit, towards Dylivka and towards Bilagora, towards these two towns, these two small villages. It's not a big villages, and I suppose that Ukrainians will try to hold these villages, or if they are not able to hold them, they will try to reduce these villages to ruins. So with this, they will not allow the Russians to establish some fortifications and their trenches and their positions. So if the Russians are able even to move from Kurdyumovka further and establish control over this area, we can start talking about collapsing of this entire front line, because from this area the Russians will increase their fire control of any supply road in this area in many times, and the losses of Ukrainians while moving along these roads will increase also in many times. So we can say that this H32 road that connects all these towns, H20, H32, that connects these two towns, is another road of life in this area. And of course, the Russians, they need to crack this, to cut this road and to establish some fire control. So this is the situation on the south. So we understand the possible ways what the Russians are planning to do. Another important update are coming from Solidar area. As you can see, according to this map, according to the West Sources map, this map is updated as well. If you remember, we used to see that the Russians were somewhere a little bit on the east from this Knauf plant. Now you can see that according to this map, the Russians reached the road, this T1302, this one. And yesterday I told you that the Russians took control over this plant Knauf, so that means that they entered the east-south part of Solidar, this town, and that the Russians took some streets on the west-north side of this Knauf. But today we got important update from the Russians that they took control not just over this plant or over these streets. The Russians took control over the plant that located on the northwest from this Knauf, this one. So we can say that for now, by this evening, the Russians controls something like this in this area. Today we got reports from the Russian military experts and the persons, soldiers, officers who is on the ground, who is providing information they can. They told that Ukrainians moved from the east-south part of Solidar, from this area, and they moved towards this river. As you can see, this river, and it's some kind of wall, some kind of natural barrier. So we can say that for now, the Ukrainians established their positions, their fortification on this line. The area between this arrow and the blue cloud, this one, is in the gray zone. Of course, the Russians are still doing some clearing operation in this industrial part of Solidar, but anyway, this movement, this progress, not just give them opportunity to continue their offensive operation to clear Solidar, but also now we understand that Bakhmutska, this town that located on the south of this industrial zone, is going to fall as well. So I suppose that very soon, maybe even by the end of this week, we're going to see that this entire south is also going to collapse, and the Russians will be able to color in red all this territory between Bakhmut and this red island on the east, and the Russians will enter Bakhmut not just from the east side. We know that the Russians already here. It's this territory in the gray zone, but there are more and more towns and blocks and buildings that already on the Russians. Furthermore, if this area between T1302 and the road H32 is going to collapse, if the Russians are able to take this, then the Russians will be able to start develop their offensive operation towards Podgorodny, this town. We understand that this area is fortified well, but anyway, the Russians will be able to start cracking and reducing this area till ruins. If we are talking about the north, about Solidar, about Seversk, there is no clashes at all. There is just artillery duels. The only important update that the Ukrainians finally understood that the Russians are not planning to do anything with Seversk, at least for now. Maybe it's some kind of a trap, who knows? Maybe they're waiting for some reactions of Ukrainians. We know that as soon as Ukrainians do some step by reducing the defense possibilities of any front line, then the Russians starting some offensive operation in this area, and they're cracking this area easily. We saw this picture in Pesky when the Ukrainians moved their artillery. The Russians cracked the most fortified positions. So today we got a report from Zaluzhny, from President Office, Zelensky President Office, that Zaluzhny asked Zelensky permission to move forces from Seversk bridgehead towards Kramatorsk, not even towards Bakhmut, because as I understand, the Ukrainians understood, at least Zaluzhny, that there is no reason to move forces from Seversk bridgehead towards Bakhmut, because it's just a waste of time. The forces will be totally under fire control, and there are already a lot of forces in Bakhmut, and moving another 8,000-10,000 towards Bakhmut will increase the population of forces in this town. Of course, it will make Russian rocket job much easier than it used to be. So that's why he asked permission to leave from this area. And I suppose that another reason why Zaluzhny asked Zelensky permission to move these forces is because of the Ukrainians were moved from Solidar. They lost the most prepared fortification. Now they are here on the northwest part of Solidar, and I believe that maybe in a week this west-north part of Solidar is going to fall as well, and after that the Russians will be able to cut this front line in two parts. Let's say in the global scope, the Russians plans in a week or in 2 weeks to cut this area, and after that the Ukrainians on the north near Seversk will got into operational encirclement. By the way, we haven't talked about any cauldrons and about any operational encirclement for a very long time. So I suppose that this time when we are going to talk about cauldrons every day is very close, and we are getting this time more and more. So I suppose this is the reason why Zaluzhny decided to leave, to move these forces earlier than he did this in Lysychansk-Severodonetsk agglomeration, because some sources are saying that while evacuation from Lysychansk, the Ukrainians lost up to 10,000 soldiers and up to 2,000 armored vehicles, including tanks. So that's a lot, of course. Now let's talk. This is everything about the frontline clashes. There is no update from Nikolaev, Kherson, no updates about offensive operation of Russians from Snegirovka towards Nikolaev, no updates from the map. So I suppose that was some kind of reco in combat. The only update that Ukrainians attacked this Novokakhovka dam one more time, and as you can see, this red marker are saying that the Russians are no longer able to use this dam and the road in this dam. There are two types of road, the railroad and the regular, that the Russians are no longer able to use this road to supply and support the air forces on this bridgehead. Another important update we got from Novofyodorovka, from this airport that was attacked yesterday, and today more and more sources, at least Ukrainians, every single Ukrainian source except the president of Ukraine, are saying that that was attack of Ukrainians, of that it was some kind of commando separation that was controlled by the United Kingdom intelligence. It was the versions that the Russians are using these days. And as a result of that attack, the Russians are saying that they lost around more than 20 airplanes, Su-30 and Su-24, one helicopter, and also today, this morning, the Ukrainians added that around 60 pilots were wounded during this attack in this area. So we can say that yes, this was a very big media victory, and maybe even victory on the ground, we can say, and the result of that loss from the Russian side we're going to see very soon, because if the information about 60 pilots is true, that means that the air capabilities of the Russians is reduced as well, because 60 pilots, that's a lot, we understand that well. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds you that we condemn any violence in Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye bye.